Hi again, everyone, and welcome to UWBadgers.com. I'm Mike Lucas. I'm joined by basketball coach Bo Ryan. Bo, is there a big difference between a teacher and a coach, or it's one in the same for you? How do you look at it?
Well, I've told this story a few times, and you might be hearing it for the second time, but my first job was as a teacher. I was hired as a teacher. And then they said, oh, by the way, the basketball coaching job is open. Would you like it? And I said, of course. So, I was hired as a teacher, got to coach, and there is no difference in my mind. And most people that have had that role, whether it's junior high, high school, college, coaching and teaching, it's the same thing. You're trying to get a message across. You're trying to get people to understand concepts and use those concepts. So I think it's one and the same.
What does it change as far as the tactics you have to use to make sure your kids are learning from one classroom to another, from one team to the next?
Well, people that come to practice because they see that I get a little animated during games, I don't yell a lot in practice about you can't, in the classroom, if you're going to teach a subject, you don't yell learning into people. You point out things, you have to get their attention, you have to have order, and you have to have expression, freedom of expression, and because ideas are good. But when it comes to basketball, it's still that idea of we are teachers and we're trying to develop through stages, develop their abilities, whether it's on offense or defense. And when it all comes together, it's a beautiful thing, just like in the classroom when somebody aces a test.
So if we're talking about a lesson plan in context with a basketball team, and you have different personnel from one year to the next, do you change your lesson plan?
There's tweaks, okay. Just like when I taught comparative political systems, world cultures, having a social science teaching degree, there were some things that you learned over history that maybe put a different light on, say the Vietnam War, World War II, the Revolution, the Civil War, whatever maybe the incident might have been, or the period, the time period. There's new information that's uncovered, so you have to kind of tweak it a little bit. Same thing in coaching. There's teams that are shorter, quicker, smaller, taller. There's different things but the game doesn't change, but in how you utilize the parts can be tweaked.
Well, this team offers the example from last year where you had the bigs to this year where your experiences in the backcourt.
Yeah, and we've had that over the years when, say, Marcus Landry, Joe Krabanoff played their final year, and then Bohannon and Hughes were the two guys coming back that had the most experience. Well, then you have to develop more of the front line, and then the front line last year did a pretty good job for us. They, especially on defense, which isn't always noticed by everyone. People want to look at points, but that was a very mature group that we don't have around anymore. So now we have to take guys who played parts, played as reserves, and now they're going to get the bulk of the minutes, and it's how they adjust here during the practices and what they pick up and how ready they become to be able enough to execute the screening situations on offense, the reads on the cuts. As people develop those skills, then you get a little bit better. So, my goal's always been get ready for the Big Ten, and we play enough good teams here in the non-conference that we'll be really tested, and I'm sure we'll learn a few things before we go into the conference.
Does every team have a unique personality, of its own? And do you have any feel right now, I know it's early, what the personality of this season's team is going to be?
Well, it is too early for me to say that, but yeah, every team does take on a persona. And hopefully it's always something positive, that guys are always looking forward to coming to practice the next day and competing in the games and where they pick each other up. And it's been something that I've been very fortunate to have players who always seem to want to help their fellow teammates after they try to beat them on the court. When it comes time to head to class, when it comes time to go take care of other things with their studies, with things on campus, and all the stuff that we do for charities and the community service, all that comes from the top down on the team, from the juniors, seniors down to the freshmen and sophomores. And that is something that we hope never changes, because that's worked pretty well for us. But each team does tend to maybe do a little bit something different on defense, or known more for getting in passing lanes, known more for being a better rebounding team. So there are different identities that teams take on. But the one thing I hope they never get away from is being strong competitors and being people who try to respect the game and play the game the way it should be.
Well, that's what you're all about. You love to compete, right? From day one when you were an athlete yourself. You're still an athlete, I'm sure, but
well, thank you.
When you were competing athletically.
Yeah, I was probably a hothead.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was kind of, if you're in a game, you're playing it to do as well as you can all the time. And I kind of, you know, I'm kind of glad I didn't play a sport like volleyball, because I had the kind of personality where I thought I should have returned every ball.
Well,
but it's so nice to watch.
You wanted to make the play.
Yeah, I wanted to get the ball. And so Pete Waite would have a real tough time with someone like me, because I would want to. I wouldn't want to really.
You know what I'd hate? I'd hate to debate you, because I know that was always one of your strong points, wasn't it? You were a great debater.
Yeah, the English teachers that I had always wanted me on the debate team. It was because, you know, I think I learned that being around all the rest of the Ryans from that side of the family. They were people who liked a good argument, liked to discuss, and you know, there were some things you pick up. I had some uncles. One was a chief of police, another was a great baseball player, played in the minor leagues. And, you know, minor leaguers always have great stories.
Always.
And always like to debate. And you know what? They always think they're right. You know, and that's something that you have to get away from early. So I learned at an early age that you can't always win every argument. You can't always win every discussion. That there's give and take, and there's a point in between. So I did learn that at an early age.
Well, that's part of your evolution as a person and as a coach. Speak to that, how you have evolved as a coach here in the Big Ten over the last 10 years.
Well, thank goodness I had a lot of good training before coming here. So it wasn't as if I got the job when I was 40. I think I was a little older. But the idea of coming to Wisconsin at the time that I did, it actually worked to my benefit. My benefit, therefore, I could benefit the teams and the players that played for us along with the staff because of the past experiences that I had had, and the teachers that I had, the coaches that I've had, you know, the job my parents tried to do raising somebody like me who probably wasn't the easiest to have around the house all the time. You already documented the story of why I was the youngest first grader. My mom didn't want me home for half a day. She wanted me gone for the whole day.
There you go.
Because I seemed to be a little disruptive around the house. Well, that's okay. It all worked out. But I just think as people that are competitive, and to play college sports, to play a game like college basketball, you better be competitive, because if you're not, you tend to get brushed aside. I mean, you really, it's very difficult to make it and to contribute to a team without being extremely competitive. And those are always the kind of guys we're looking for.
You had a great summer, 2 Hall of Fames, 2 inductions. What's the biggest reward in your mind for a coach?
Biggest reward was I got a chance to talk to Petey Carrill about his offense a little bit more without anybody else around to bother us.
An icon,
that was a reward.
The Princeton icon.
Yeah, and I thought I was a pretty good defensive back, so I got with Troy Vincent a little bit and picked his brain. And then for the high school one here for the Coaches Association, getting a chance to see former players and other coaches that we work camps together with. And it's the camaraderie, it's the brotherhood of the game that to me is the biggest reward. It isn't about the trophy, it's not about the medal, it's not about the plaque. It's all about the relationships that you establish, and kind of all the things that the game brings into one big circle. It's a brotherhood.
Do you still get excited walking into your classroom, the Kohl Center? You still excited about going to that and standing in front of those students?
Oh yeah, I mean, the students bring energy, our fans bring energy, the atmosphere, the band with the national anthem.
But you know the students I'm talking about. I'm talking about your players.
Well, yeah, those students also, because, you know, they are what represents the university. So the fact that they're supported by their peers, that's pretty good stuff.
They're still listening too, aren't they?
You know, they are. They are. And people always ask me what's different now. There isn't anything different about personalities of players, of student athletes. They want to compete, they want to be good, they want to be successful, and you give them direction. And that hasn't changed any.
You looking forward to watching Jordan Taylor in his senior year?
Yeah, I am. And I'm looking forward to having his teammates go along with him and improve and add. And, you know, everybody, and Jordan knows I talk to him about this too. Everybody talks about Jordan Taylor, but he knows what's on the front of his jersey when he steps on the court. It says Wisconsin, and that's who he represents, and he's trying to do it as best as he can, but he needs some help. But yeah, it's all about the team is a little younger, you know, across the board than maybe some other teams that we've had. But when you have a leader like him, good things can happen.
But how would you describe leadership?
Well, just belief. You know, whether it's a belief in an individual or belief in a group or belief in a philosophy, somebody that can take that belief and carry it, because there has to be a leader in the locker room, and there's a leader when it comes time to setting up the drills and giving direction in practice. The coaching staff, that's their job, but the leader in the locker room has to be somebody who the players can relate to, who the players believe in, and that leader has a message, and that everybody stays together and pulls together, and some really neat things have happened over the years, and I hope that doesn't change this year.
Think I could cut it in your classroom?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think not when you were younger. You're kind of like me when you were younger.
Yeah, you're right. You got that right.
You and I both had all the answers in the 70s. I still have a couple. I think you do too, but I think we found out we didn't have them all, didn't we?
Yeah, we learned. Hey, good luck this season.
Thanks, Mike.
For Bo Ryan, I'm Mike Lucas. Thanks for watching UWBadgers.com.